Hello, good morning to you all viewers, and once again you are all welcome to Davijula Patente. And just to remind you that we will soon be getting to the topics that most people are here waiting for, and are eager to get to them. And just to remind you too, then these topics that we have been treating to are very important topics regarding this course, and frequently you will find questions from all the topics that we treated during your exam, the exam day. And to taking it from where we stopped today, we will be looking at Comportamenti a Salvaguardia degli Anziani, Ciechi e Sordociechi. That will be behavior that one needs to safeguard towards elderly people. That these are old people, elderly people, blind people, and deaf blind. Ok? Comportamento che il conducente di un veicolo deve tenere verso gli altri utenti della strada. Behavior that let's say drivers should observe towards other road users. Oltre a rispettare le norme specifiche della circolazione, deve tenere un rapporto corretto, paziente e tollerante verso altri utenti della strada, anche in caso di rallentamento della circolazione. Apart from respecting other specific norms, or let's say rules of the road circulation, a driver should observe or should behave or maintain a good rapport towards other road users. It should be patient and tolerant towards other road users, even in the case of a traffic blockage, a traffic jam. Ok? Deve sempre usare la massima prudenza. You should always use a maximum prudence. You should be prudent maximum at all time. Anche quando gli altri conducenti devono dargli la precedenza. Even when other drivers should give him way to pass. Deve cercare di prevedere il comportamento degli altri utenti che può non essere corretto. You should try to overview or expect behaviors of other drivers that might not be correct. Ok? Comportamento, sì, deve tutelare la propria e altrui sicurezza. You need to observe your own safety and that of the other road users. Deve rispettare gli agenti del traffico anche se non in divisa e collaborare con loro. You need to respect traffic agents even when they are not in uniform, and try as much as you can to collaborate with them. Deve procedere a bassa velocità sopra le pozzanghere o su strada ricoperta da briciolino. Briciolini would be much more correct than briciolino. Per evitare di sbandare o sporcare, colpire gli altri utenti della strada. That means to move at a very slow speed. Wherever you found a puddle, where you will find it is sort of a little pool that will be formed on the road whenever there is a rain or water leakage. So it is called puddle. Whenever you found puddles on the road, you should move at a very slow speed. Or roads that are crumbled, where dust will easily be formed, in order to avoid a disorderly movement, or to hit other people with small pedals, or in order to lower the visibility because of dust for other road users, either drivers or pedestrians. Now we will take a look at questions that could emerge from this topic, and the first ones we will go through will be the questions that are true, that will be vero in Italian. Bisogna usare maggior prudenza nei confronti delle persone diversamente abili. To use major caution towards people that are differently able. Bisogna usare maggior prudenza nei confronti delle persone anziane. Greater caution, to be very much cautious about elderly people, old people, when they are on the road, either as pedestrians or as drivers. Bisogna usare maggior prudenza nei confronti dei bambini che attraversano la strada. One need to be very much cautious about kids that will normally be on their way crossing the road. Bisogna usare maggior prudenza nei confronti dei conducenti che dimostrano una guida incerta. You need to be very much cautious about drivers that will usually show an uncertain way of driving. Bisogna usare maggior prudenza nei confronti dei conducenti dei veicoli adattati per le persone, per persone diversamente abili. When you are traveling and you happen to found on the road, or either parked or plying on the road, vehicles that are adopted for the transportation of people that are differently able. Whenever you come across it, you need to be very much cautious about it. You need to be very much attentive. Bisogna usare maggior prudenza nei confronti delle persone in biciclette e in quelle con scarsa capacità di movimento. You need to be very much cautious about people that will be riding on bicycles or vehicles with a very low capacity of movement. That means vehicles that will normally move at a slower speed. Quando le persone anziane attraversano la carreggiata bisogna tenere presente che potrebbero non fare adeguata attenzione ai veicoli. When elderly people will be crossing, normally crossing the road, one need to be very much attentive, or one need to put in mind that they might not pay an adequate attention to vehicles. Quando le persone anziane attraversano la carreggiata bisogna tenere presente che potrebbero fermarsi improvvisamente al centro della strada. When an elderly person is crossing the road, you should bear in mind that they could, or he or she could, stop improvisely in the midst of the road. Quando le persone anziane attraversano la carreggiata bisogna tenere presente che potrebbero non guardare né a destra né a sinistra. When elderly person is they are crossing the road, normally you should bear in mind that they might not check either the right or left side of them, whether there are vehicles that are coming towards them. They could just cross the road improvisely. Whenever you see them, you need to be very much cautious. Quando le persone anziane attraversano la carreggiata bisogna tenere presente che, data la loro età, non reagiscono prontamente alle situazioni di pericolo. When elderly people are crossing the road, you should bear in mind that due to their old age, they could not, or they might not react swiftly to any danger. Le persone anziane che attraversano la carreggiata sono esposte a maggiori pericoli perché le loro capacità visive e uditive non sono più eccellenti. Elderly people, they are subjected to major danger when they are crossing the road, because they are hearing and their hearing and vision might not be excellent. Sorry, I'm a little bit distracted, you know. Le persone anziane che attraversano la carreggiata sono esposte a maggiori pericoli perché potrebbero valutare male la velocità dei veicoli che sopraggiungono. Elderly people, when they are crossing the roads, they are when elderly people are crossing the road, they are subject to major danger because they might not correctly evaluate the speed of the vehicles that are coming towards them. Il conducente deve fermarsi e dare la precedenza alle persone non vedenti con il bastone bianco che si accinge ad attraversare la strada fuori dalle strisce pedonali. Whenever a driver saw or see a blind person with a stick, colored white, trying to cross a road where where it is not a pedestrian crossing, you should stop and allow them to cross first. Il conducente deve fermarsi e facilitare l'attraversamento al pedone non vedente con il bastone bianco che attraversa la strada fuori dalle strisce pedonali. A driver should stop and facilitate the crossing of a pedestrian that is blind, crossing outside a pedestrian crossing. Il conducente deve dare la precedenza al pedone non vedente con il bastone bianco che attraversa la strada fuori dalle strisce pedonali, anche se non è accompagnato da un cane guida. The driver should stop and give way to a pedestrian, a blind pedestrian that is trying to with a white stick, trying to cross a road outside a pedestrian crossing, even without a guide, a dog guide. Il conducente deve fermarsi per concedere la precedenza al pedone sordocieco che con il bastone bianco rosso attraversa la strada fuori dalle strisce pedonali. The driver should stop and give way to a pedestrian, deaf-blind pedestrian that is trying to cross a road outside a pedestrian crossing. Most of these questions that we have been reading have a similar context, but they are put into different form. So whenever reading them, one needs to pay attention to these little details. Second to the last question, or third to the last question that is correct, il conducente deve fermarsi e concedere la precedenza al pedone sordocieco. We have read that con il bastone bianco rosso che attraversa la strada fuori dalle strisce pedonali. Whenever you see a deaf blind pedestrian trying to cross with a stick colored red and white, trying to cross a road outside a pedestrian crossing, you should stop and give way to them without putting them in a haste. Il conducente deve dare la precedenza al pedone con il bastone bianco o bianco-rosso che attraversa la strada, anche se è fuori dalle strisce di un attraversamento pedonale. A driver should stop and give way to a deaf blind, either blind or deaf blind, with white stick or white and red stick that is trying to a person that is with this types of sticks trying to cross the road outside a pedestrian crossing. You should stop and give them way to go to pass without putting them in a haste. Il conducente deve fermarsi quando il pedone non vedente con il bastone bianco si accinge ad attraversare la strada, evitando di frenare bruscamente per non spaventarlo. A driver should stop and give way to a blind pedestrian with a white colored stick whenever you see them attempting to cross the road, avoiding avoidance of stopping, roughly stopping to avoid, let's say, to avoid frightening them. Okay. These are, now we will be looking at questions that are false. The first one says: bisogna usare particolare prudenza nei confronti dei conducenti che hanno conseguito la patente di guida in uno stato estero. You should pay attention, or to be very much cautious about other drivers that obtain their driving license in a foreign country. You wouldn't be we wouldn't be able to notice or know whether a particular driver got his driving license at a foreign country from where you stay. So this is a wrong question. This is why it is marked false. F. Bisogna usare maggiore prudenza nei confronti dei conducenti di autoveicoli elettrici. You should be cautious about other drivers that will be driving electric vehicles. That is false. Generally, one need to be cautious whenever driving. So it has nothing to do with a particular type of vehicle, whether the vehicle is electric or otherwise. Bisogna usare maggior prudenza nei confronti dei conducenti di taxi. One need to be very much cautious, to be attentive of drivers, taxi drivers, or Uber drivers, some will call it. So it is false. Bisogna usare maggior prudenza nei confronti dei conducenti di tricicli a motori. You need to be cautious, to be very much attentive of drivers that will be driving three-tire vehicles. So these are three-wheel vehicles. That is not true. You need to be cautious all the time. Bisogna usare maggior prudenza nei confronti dei pedoni muniti di bastoni bianco, ma non a quelli con bastone bianco e rosso. You need to be pay very much attention to pedestrians with a white stick, but not those with red and white stick. It is false, because those with red and white sticks are those that are deaf, blind. They can't hear, neither they can see. Quando le persone anziane attraversano la carreggiata, bisogna tenere presente che hanno i riflessi più rapidi e quindi attraversano con più accortezza. When you see elderly people crossing the road, you should bear in mind that they have a rapid reflection, so they will usually cross the road accurately. So it is false. Quando le persone anziane attraversano la carreggiata, bisogna tenere presente che di solito attraversano rapidamente e con prudenza. When you see elderly people crossing road, you should bear in mind that they will normally cross swiftly and then with prudence. Quando le persone anziane attraversano la carreggiata, bisogna tenere presente che avendo più esperienza e un campo visivo maggiore, intuiscono meglio le situazioni di pericolo. Whenever you see elderly people crossing the road, you should know, because of their vast experience, and the wide range of wide range of their sight, they will normally reflect on situations of danger swiftly, and to be very much attentive when they are crossing. No, that is not true. When you see elderly people, they usually have this slow way of evaluating danger. They might even underrate danger. So it is not true that they have an experience that will give a vast experience and a wide range of sight view that will allow them to act swiftly to a situation of danger. So this is why the question is false. Quando le persone anziane attraversano la carreggiata, bisogna lampeggiare e suonare il clacson per farle attraversare rapidamente. When you see an elderly people crossing the road, you should signal them with light, and then be honing them with klaxon in such a way that they will move rapidly out away from the way. That is also false. You don't behave that way when you are driving on the roads. Cuando le persone anziane attraversano, especially with elderly people, because they could react let's say unexpectedly. Quando le persone anziane attraversano la carreggiata, bisogna dare la precedenza solo a coloro che attraversano da sinistra a destra. When you see elderly people crossing the road, you should give way to only those that will be moving from left to right. This is also false. Il conducente deve accelerare per sgombrare rapidamente la carreggiata quando un pedone non vedente con il bastone bianco attraversa la strada senza cane guida. A driver should move swiftly and rapidly, let's say, away to give way in order to leave the way free for a blind person that is crossing the road without a dog guide. So it is also false, very false. You can't move roughly or rapidly in order to give them way. No, you need to stop and allow them to cross the road calmly without agitating them. Il conducente deve passare per primo in quanto ha la precedenza. Quando un pedone non vedente con il bastone bianco attraversa la strada fuori dalle strisce pedonali. A driver should pass first whenever, because he has the right to pass. Whenever he sees a blind person crossing the road outside a pedestrian crossing. Il conducente, quando un pedone non vedente con il bastone bianco attraversa la strada fuori dalle strisce pedonali, deve dare la precedenza solo se l'attraversamento pedonale dista oltre 100 metri. A driver should give way to a blind person with a white stick that will be crossing the road outside a pedestrian crossing. You should give them way only if from that point to the pedestrian crossing would be like more or less 100 meters. That is the only time you should give them way to pass. That is not true, it's false. Third to the last question says, il conducente deve dare la precedenza a un pedone non vedendo che attraversa la strada fuori dalla striscia pedonale solo se munito di bastone bianco e rosso. A driver should give way to a blind person that will be crossing the roads outside a pedestrian crossing only if he has a red and a white stick. That will mean the person is deaf and blind. So it is false. Either deaf and blind or only deaf people, you should give them way at all time whenever you see them on the road, and never to agitate them by putting them in a hurry. The second to the last question says, il conducente deve prevedere che un pedone non vedente con il bastone bianco che attraversa la strada fuori dalle strisce pedonali camminerà rapidamente e senza incertezza. A driver should put in mind that whenever you see a blind person crossing outside a pedestrian crossing, will usually move very rapidly without an uncertainty. So it is also false. Se un pedone, that is the last question, con bastone bianco attraversa la strada fuori dalla striscia pedonale, bisogna suonare clacson per sollecitarlo ad attraversare rapidamente. When you see a blind person crossing outside a pedestrian crossing, you should be honing them in order to solicit them to cross rapidly, so that you will have a way to pass quickly. It is also false. You don't horn them, you don't shout at them, you just allow them to cross calmly without agitating them, so that they will be okay, because these are people this is why they are defined as differently able, because you have more than them. In order to help guide them, you don't agitate them, because their reaction might put themselves into a situation, in a danger situation, let's say. So we will leave you here with this, and then until we meet again, thank you once again from Tabo Jula Potende.